Aqui no Spotify, muitas playlists são criadas através de inteligência artificial. A IA está em todo lugar, mas nem todo IA é igual. Desbloqueie experiências de IA mais inteligentes, fáceis de expandir e personalizadas para sua vida e seus negócios com os computadores Lenovo e processadores Intel Core Ultra, que transformam a sua experiência tecnológica. Acesse lenovo.com/smarter aí. Lenovo, inteligência artificial mais inteligente para todos.
Today on CityCast Madison. It's Tuesday, so it's time for another must-see Madison. And this week's must-see is becoming quite the event of the Halloween season. It's a haunted yard spectacular over in the Dudgeon Monroe neighborhood. And the two families that put it on truly go all out. This year's theme is all about glitz, glam, and vampiric ghouls. Last year, their haunting attracted over 500 visitors. So, to get the deets on this year's Spooktacular, we sat down with the masterminds behind the madness, creators Ginger Schrader and Emily Balsley. It's Tuesday, October 29th. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Emily, hello.
Hi, Bianca.
And hi, Ginger.
Hi, Bianca.
So, Ginger, you and your family actually reached out to our team back when we did an episode about raising chickens in Madison. And
yes.
Then our whole team ran into you and Emily at the Bounty over on South Park for their Fishbowl Regatta fundraiser, which was so fun for the lakes. And you told us then, you and Emily, that y'all have quite the phenomenon that happens around Halloween.
Some could say feminine phenomenon.
Pun intended. Yes, I had that one.
We're so excited about it. We just can't help share it everywhere we go.
Well, so yes, you two both, this is your 4th year that your families have collaborated on creating a haunted yard experience in your neighborhood for Halloween. And it's turned into quite the big deal. So before we talk about what you're cooking up this year, tell me, how did this all get started?
Ooh, that's a good question. So this started back in 2020, actually. It was Halloween of 2020 when we weren't doing very much. My family actually went to Terre on Tyrol, that experience, safely distant, everyone is masked up, but we were standing in line for a couple hours waiting, and we were talking about how we just miss doing things with people and in the community. And so we're like, we should do some sort of, scary yard something maybe next year. And then shortly thereafter, because it was Halloween time, my husband came across a meme of a photo of a bunch of baby dolls planted in someone's yard that were carrying what looked like a dead body over their hands.
In a body bag, wrapped in a black body bag.
Exactly. And he sent it to us, the group, and he's like, we should do this some year. We need to start collecting baby dolls. This is so cool. And so again, that spurred the baby doll collection. So he ended up collecting, Ginger, would you say probably 100 different,
yes.
100 dolls maybe, over the course of that winter. So winter of 2021. And he would plant them in the snow. He would put them in the tree. He would peek them in our back doors to scare the crap out of us.
Outside of Halloween time?
This is over the winter.
Which makes it even scarier. It makes it even scarier when it's not Halloween and this happens.
Yeah. It's true. And so eventually most of the dolls ended up in the tree out front, and which became in and of itself kind of a destination. So we knew we were on to something at that point. So once the leaves started popping in the spring, we decided to put all the baby dolls away. And so instead of just taking them out of the tree, my husband decided to make a production of it and marched them across the yard day after day over the course of a month of May of 2021.
It was like a stop motion film, really. It was every day they would move a little bit closer to the door.
Yeah. But people loved it. When we had kids that would come by every day and they would notice, oh my gosh, that Ariel moved 3 feet. So people were actually paying attention to the progression of the dolls. So eventually all of the dolls made their way into the house. And then come fall, this is where we brought the Schraders in. So we're like, hey, Schraders, you guys love Halloween time. They always do an amazing kind of front yard decoration. Ginger has dressed up as a witch to hand out candy. So we knew they were into Halloween, and they're a very creative family as well. And so we asked them, hey, would you be interested in doing some sort of Halloween extravaganza? We didn't really know what that would look like at that point. And lo and behold, they were in. And so that's kind of how it started, the collaboration. And then, our first year, 2021, I guess that would have been, ended up being, the theme was Arachno Babyland. So it was spiders and baby dolls. And so we developed a whole story around it. And that just kind of kicked everything off.
Oh my gosh. And I understand, like, so you already had people interested in getting involved that first year, and that it's just been growing ever since. Can you tell us about like how much it's grown, and were you expecting it to take off this way?
Well, I mean, I don't think we expected it would take off this way. No, to answer that question. There was a scary house, we would call it the scary house, a few blocks over for many years. And our family loved going there every year. And I think it was, Ginger, correct me if I'm wrong, it was one of the teenagers who lived there who kind of organized it.
Yeah, shout out to Colin Chosey. I mean, they would spend the whole month of October. You could hear the kids sawing in the backyard, making coffins. And their parents actually let them dig like a fresh grave in their front yard. I mean, they were committed. God. But, he got older and he went off to college, and there was this missing part of our neighborhood, and it kind of collided with the whole baby doll thing. And so we're like, hey, I think we're going to take the torch and run with this, and at the same time, both of our girls were getting to an age where they were no longer trick-or-treating. And it was a great way for them to get involved. And then, during these last 3-4 years, we've been inviting all their friends. And so we get all these teenagers who are looking for something fun to do. And who doesn't want to scare, other people on Halloween night? So we've had a lot of great volunteers help us out.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun. It's funny because we spent a lot of time last year around Christmas talking about the Dungeon Monroe Street Santas being a big thing. And so it sounds like you guys go hard for Halloween as well. And I just love that, you guys can't just be missing spookiness. It's a part of your guys' neighborhood, it sounds like.
It is. The first year we called it Arachno Babyland, like Emily was saying, a story about a family being murdered by a group of baby dolls in cahoots, we said, with bloodthirsty spiders led by 2 spider witches. So Emily and I dressed up as spider witches, and we'd invite the little kids around the house to follow the babies, because we'd have a trail of babies going around the house, and then you would see unfortunately, the murdered family hanging from the tree upside down in body bags. And, there were a lot of questions, but
that was a fun one to build those bodies, because we actually made them proportionate to our family sizes. And then I remember carrying them from my studio into our truck. I'm like, oh my gosh, are people going to actually think that I'm carrying bodies? Like, what is happening? But, that's what I love about Halloween. You just kind of embrace the weird, right? I feel like weird is just accepted at this time of year. So let's just go all in.
Also, the baby dolls, Emily, talk about how we reuse the baby dolls every year. This is special.
So the baby dolls have been a huge hit over the years. Most people love them. Some people hate them. But they have really had a lot of bang for their buck. They're very cheap buck because they are all from Dig and Save. But we've tried to use them every year in a different capacity. So the first year, they were just straight up baby dolls that were marching across our yard. The second year, our theme was alien abduction. So we actually painted a few of the dolls in like a UV white color, and then suspended them in bubbles, giant bubbles from our trees. So it looked like they were being maybe
individually abducted.
Exactly.
Nice.
The third year, our theme was Wizard of Zoe. So it was like Wizard of Oz, but with a twist. So you went through it backwards. There was some zombies that were featured as well.
Oh my gosh.
And so the baby dolls became the Munchkins. So we actually we actually had the teenage volunteers help us paint the Munchkins in all of these like fluorescent UV colors. Just went wild with painting these, just making them as colorful as possible.
And then we added little plastic forks as pitchforks because they were revolting against Glinda.
Revolting Munchkins.
Yes. It was an uprising.
I love it. Y'all are so creative. It's incredible. I wish I'd caught that one last year. And folks can't see you, but Ginger, you've got blonde hair and blue eyes. And Emily, you've got long brown hair and brown eyes. And I'm just like, feel like I'm looking at Glinda and Elphaba. Like, I feel like you guys, you know, in terms of dressing up as witches, you guys are so fun.
A Libert Seguros agora é Yellow. Tudo aquilo que já era bom continua igual. Excelência e proximidade permanecem como nossa essência. Porque não é uma mudança, é uma evolução. A Yellow está sempre em sintonia com você. É liberdade com segurança. A melhor experiência acessível a todos os clientes, iluminando cada passo da sua jornada. Deixe essa luz iluminar seu caminho. Yellow Seguradora. Seguro para viver livre. Consulte seu corretor.
RH, quer saber como voar no trabalho? É só usar a Flash. Com a Flash, você concentra toda a gestão de pessoas em um único lugar. Faça a admissão dos colaboradores e solicite mais de 8 categorias de benefícios. Ah, e você ainda pode fazer todo o controle de ponto. Conheça o novo onboarding integrado da Flash em flashapp.com.br.
Let's talk about this year. Like, what is the theme for the Haunted Yard this year? And it's got a name too, right? Now you guys, do you go by the Commonwealth?
Yes, our Instagram handle is Haunting of Commonwealth. And so that's a great place just to kind of see our behind the scenes and the process, because we actually build everything. There's very little that's just store-bought off the shelf. And we pride ourselves on that because that's what makes it really unique. But this year's theme is called Red Blood Supernova. It's inspired by Chappell Roan's song Red Wine Supernova. And so we decided to go all out in essentially a glampire theme. So
yes!
vampire beauty pageant, I guess you could call it too. So we're kind of making the yard
what
into
she does in the shadows.
Exactly. Oh, I love that.
Exactly. You are.
I'm in.
So good. So we're building the yard to essentially look like a theater. And so you're going to be touring the theater. You're going to be entering the backstage, and you're going to be going around the house through the closet, through the dressing room, into the stage area. And then if you don't perform adequately for the judges, you'll be sent to the bloodbath. And then finally, if you make it through that, the cloak check, and then finally the exit. So it should be fun.
Oh my gosh. This is so clever. And also Chappell is so camp. Her outfit design is like totally part of her sensation. And I imagine there's going to be thousands of Chappell Roans this Halloween. So I love that you chose that theme. Ginger, like, what's the process for picking y'all's themes?
You know, that's a great question. And in fact, we're thinking about themes all year long. And I think we first met this summer in July to go through the theme. And we usually just discuss it. But and we always discuss it. But Emily's daughter was super passionate about the Red Blood Supernova. And she came to our discussion with a PowerPoint. and I mean, she had like a Pinterest board, and she had playlists, and she had it all dialed in. And, you know, our girls are going to go off to college in a couple of years, and we were just thrilled to like go with this thing because they were so excited about it. And so shout out to Stella for presenting this theme.
Stella! Woohoo! So Red Blood Supernova, that's absolutely incredible. So rock on. What happens next? You've picked that, you know, you've talked about some of the process and what people can expect, but what goes into setting up the yard?
We have this whole, like, how would you say? It's like a landscape plan of the whole yard drawn out in Illustrator. And we walk the yard, and we all
talk
professional.
About...
I know. And we talk about, like, you know, and of course, Emily's yard is perfect for this because the front faces a street and the backyard faces the street behind. So you can see what's going on from both streets. So the side yard really worked well for a hallway this year. And this is the first year my husband, John, he helped us with building actual walls. And so I think the process is we walk the yard, we talk about, well, we know we want a stage. Where would it be? How many people can do jump scares in this area? Because that's another thing. The jump scares. That's what the people want, and we want to give it to them. So as many jump scares as we can fit in to the small space. And then a lot of times all the time we work in audio. So we have soundtracks for every side of the house to set the scene of what's going on. So in the bloodbath, you might hear like trickling sounds of water, but your mind fills in that it's blood. And then you might hear people screaming, and here, you might hear, things like that. So we have all these sound effects that we can't wait to play as people walk through. And so we talk about sound, we talk about lighting. Lighting is a huge deal. Really, you wouldn't believe. So we talk about lighting as we go through. And then I think we just talk about like, what is the story? The key to this is a story. And sometimes we kind of laugh, but it really is telling a story. Every year we try to have like, what does this make sense with a story?
This year we're hanging up some signage before you even go in. That's going to hopefully mess with their heads a little bit. We're putting up fumigation signs. So you're already thinking, oh my gosh, there's some sort of infestation, right? So like psychological, tripping some of that. And so when you walk in the backstage door and you start stepping on these crunching something, it's like, oh my gosh, fumigation, it must be cockroaches, right? And so it's really, here's a hot tip, it's really just peanut shells. But like, just like tapping into those sensations, you're feeling that crunching underneath your feet, right? What could that be? Your mind automatically goes to the worst, and that's what we want. So we're constantly trying to tap into that as we move around the yard. Over the last 4 years, we've really learned all of the good corners of our yard and where all the opportunities are. But we do just go through the story like bit by bit and figure out what can we do? How can we make this scary? Can we fit someone in this space, right?
And how scary would you say it is? Like for folks, judging if they want to bring their kids, or, for adults that are kind of timid to adults that are like, scare me, get me good.
Well, we love them. But we strive to be family friendly. We put that on our flyer, on our poster, that we want it to be family friendly. So on Halloween night, we actually break it into 2 scare modes. So the early from 5 to 6 or 6:30 is the low scare mode. And that's when it's still kind of daylight out, right? So you don't have all of those dark corners necessarily. All of our monsters are friendly. They will say hello as opposed to jumping out, right? And then come 6:30, that's when we kick it up a notch to our PG-13 high scare mode. And that's when it's game on, when we Oh, that was good.
I can't help
good
myself.
timing there.
And so I was going to ask, for folks who are listening who are like, I want to do this, can each of you give like one piece of advice for folks if they wanted to turn their yard into a haunted house phenomenon?
That, I would say shop your basement, shop your garage, and then we love Willie Street Vinnie's and O'Dana Street St. Vincent de Paul. We get costumes, we get wigs, we get props, super cheap. Also, garage sales over the summer. If you have your theme in mind in far enough in advance, it's amazing what you can pick up. I would also say that there's this thing called beef netting, and it makes these huge spider webs, and you can buy a roll online. It's called beef netting. I know it sounds really weird. I think they use it in the beef industry, but it's like very stretchy, and you can stretch it and make huge spider webs. I think you can buy a roll for maybe $30 to $50, and you could cover your whole front yard with this stuff. And then we also use YouTube. We use so much YouTube stuff.
That's what I was going to say, Ginger. I was going to say YouTube, because I feel like anything that your little heart desires, you can just look it up and how to do it, how to build it on YouTube. That has been such a great resource. And Instagram too. There's a lot of makers, Halloween-specific makers that post a lot of DIYs, and which has been really, really helpful, because, again, we try to make everything ourselves, but though we have very vast skill sets over the two families, we still are somewhat limited.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up Instagram too, and that y'all have an Instagram so people can check that out. And also, you've been featured on another Madison account, Spooky Spaces of Madison. So we'll be sure to link to both of those, because you can go see other haunted houses. But for folks who do want to enjoy y'all's mad creativity, what do they need to know about coming through? Like, what are the logistics and the location and all of that?
Yeah, so our big event is Halloween night. Typically, we go to about 8:30 or so. Expect lines. Typically, there's about a 20-minute wait to go through our yard. We try to, hustle people through, but at the same time, we want them to enjoy it and take in all of the magic that we've built into the experience.
And last year, y'all saw over 500 people?
Over 500 people. Yeah. It's wild. It is a hot spot.
Yeah. And if you show up and you can't get in, you can always come around to the street behind the house. We have a whole line of people. It's almost like we felt like we should put out bar stools, because people were just hanging out by the fence. And some of Emily's neighbors even set up watch parties in their front yards, because they can see all what's going on. And it's fun because you get to know where the jump scares are, and you can watch people as they go through.
So what's the process? Do you just show up, or how does that work?
You can absolutely just show up. If you don't know where we live, you can DM us on Instagram for the address, and we will gladly share it with you.
Okay, wonderful. And just before you guys go, do you think you'll keep doing this event even after your kids head off to college?
Emily just asked me that the other day, and I said, Emily, I don't know how I can stop.
It's true. It's true. We actually, come November 1st, we kind of joke that we have PhD, post-Halloween depression, because we put so much into this event for so many months, and we find so much joy in it. And so, like Ginger said, I can't imagine not doing this. It might change slightly with our girls going off to college or wherever they're going to go. We might have a new crop of youth that want to come hang out with us and volunteer. We already have so many of the neighbor kids stop by when we're building the yard, and they ask if they can help. They ask if they can participate somehow. And so we have a lot of interested kiddos who are already, watching our every move. And so I'm sure we won't have any problem finding volunteers, but, we might do maybe Halloween, like an art installation. Who knows? We're always going to do something, I think. It might change a little bit over the years, but this is just such a fun event and a safe place for our teenagers to hang out. And, everyone is welcome. You don't have to dress up. You don't have to pay anything. It's free and accessible for everyone. And that's what we love about it. And so we want to keep providing that for the neighborhood.
Well, Emily and Ginger, y'all are mad creative. You even came on this call. People couldn't see in costumes. So thank you. Your house is clearly the place to be. And we're just so grateful that you made the time to share with us what you guys are working on. Chappell, Roan forever.
Thank you, Via.
That's Madison Creative's Ginger Schrader and Emily Balsley, the creators behind the Halloween Haunted Yard over in Dungeon Monroe. If you want to find out more about their spooky fun or send them a direct message to get the location details, we've included their Instagram in our show notes. And if you're looking for more haunted spaces and places to check out this week, want to shout out another fabulous spooky Instagram account, Robert Johnson's Spooky Spaces of Madison. That link is also in our show notes. That's all for today. here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin. If you enjoyed the show, why not share this episode with the person in your life who won't stop talking about Chappell, Roan? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, keep it spooky.
Can I just show you something? I just brought this as a prop to like show you something funny. We got this at Vinny's this year. Watch this. Oh my God, I gotta figure out how to turn it off.